Hi guys, it's been a while. I'm sure you understand why. It's been a pretty difficult time for lots of people, trying to wrap my head around the loss of my business at the minute, and being inside, and what Mexico City will look like after this is all over, and making sure that I'm safe and I'm keeping the people that I share this home with safe, and I'm sure you're doing the same. But anyway, I wanted to make this video because I've been getting a lot of questions about what's happening here in Mexico. There's not very much being shared in the international news. To be honest, there's not much being shared in the national news here. I try not to read the news very much anymore. I'm keeping up with what's happening in New York, where my family are. I'm keeping up with what's happening here in Mexico City with regards to the regulations and when they change, and what's happening with that. I'll put a few helpful links below if you're interested in more about what's happening from the federal government here. They've actually been doing like nightly, or like in the afternoon, I guess, but like updates from the Secretary of like the health part of the government, and he's been very clear, and I think like very well spoken about what's happening and what it's going to look like here in Mexico. We have end dates that have been extended, obviously, like many people's. And it looks like we're now definitely inside until late May. Things are getting stricter. When I go to the grocery store now, there's lines, you have to wait outside. I've been posting on my Instagram almost daily updates about what it's been like here in my neighborhood. Obviously, I live in the outskirts of Mexico City, really in Estado de Mexico, in the metropolitan area. So I have no idea what the center of the city looks like anymore. Which is why I'm speaking to someone on this video who lives in Mexico City. But yeah, I don't want to like blab on too much about this in the intro because the video is long enough. But I did take a poll yesterday to ask you guys whether or not you wanted one long video or two shorter videos, with it being sort of split in half into part one and part two. And the majority of you, over 75%, have spoken and said 30-minute videos are fine. So to make it really easier for you to jump around this video, in the description I have put like each person that I'm speaking to, where they are located, and then the time, so that you can just like click the timestamp and jump to those if you want to skip around the video. I'm speaking to Ubish first. He is an amazing tour guide, a great friend of mine, has a great podcast, and he lives really like sort of very near the center of Mexico City, right near the Centro Histórico. So he has a better idea of like what it's looking like down there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll speak to you again at the end, and introduce all of the other people throughout this video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it gives you a little bit of a glimmer into what's happening here. So I thought maybe you could like enlighten people a little bit about how it's going in the Centro,
Yeah,
and like what it looks like there.
I mean, I live near downtown, but I haven't, because even downtown it's not walking distance exactly.
Right.
But even here in like my surrounding areas, like I don't remember. Did we went to the taco street? Did I take you to the main taco street that was on the Netflix documentary? No.
No, the one
Well,
by
you
the airport-ish area, right?
exactly, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
That one is usually super busy,
Yeah.
and it has been very empty.
Are they
Uh,
still open?
so the last time that I went out, because they only open at night, the
Oh,
last
okay.
time that I went out at night, it was like almost a week ago, and there were pretty much everything was open, but you could clearly see that it was not
Nothing
completely
like.
empty, but super slow for any day of the week. Even on a
Yeah.
Monday, it's busy. On a Tuesday, it was very sad to see it like that.
Yeah, I bet. Like, have you been going out and like seeing the, like, are the markets all still open, or is like, are restaurants and everything still open around where you are?
So where I am, we mostly go out only to the supermarket,
Right.
and pretty much only like once every week. And in the supermarket, actually, it's I don't know, maybe we are lucky that the one that we have here, it's very well. It has everything. There's not a lot of people.
That's good.
So even when we went 1 week ago, there was no Like it was not that only one person can enter
Right.
or a limit of staff. No, everyone could enter, and even with that, it was not too crowded.
You see a lot of people wearing masks and stuff, like when you go to the shop.
Uh, I have to say that it's the last time that I went out, it was much less than half of the people. Like the workers of the supermarket, yes.
Right.
Few people in the street, especially older people.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but no, and I have seen a few younger people, which it was surprising for me, but it's less than half of the people that we will see in the street.
Yeah. And what do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think people are taking it seriously? Like, do you think people are traveling this weekend for Easter?
So I live also very near the La Viga market, which
Mm-hmm.
it's the fish market, the old fish market, and
Yeah.
I was this close to go, and I completely forgot that it was Lent, that it was
Right, right.
the Easter's. So I was this close to go, and then just yesterday, I saw news in Facebook that that market was super crowded, and the cops has to kind of
Oh
control the
no.
situation. Yeah, so I'm very glad that I didn't went, but I don't think honestly that many people are taking this seriously, and
No.
that's very sad because it's going to have. I hope that it doesn't, but I feel that it will have consequences, very bad consequences.
Yeah.
Even the church, like there's a very important church over here, and that
Mm-hmm.
one is the first time in a long time that I see the doors closed, because that church
Wow.
is always open,
Wow.
and it's, yeah, that was a little bit shocking for me because that church, it's always open, and yeah, I have seen it closed down for a while.
This next part of the video is with Susan. Susan lives in Oaxaca City, kind of near the center of the city. She gives us a bit of a peek into how the government have handled it there, what's happening, whether the people are taking it seriously or not. I just want to pre-warn you, I filmed all of these videos on Zoom, but this video in particular is a little bit glitchy. I tried to cut it out where there was like too much of a pause and like where things froze, but the internet just wasn't great that day. Yeah, just a heads up. But Susan has a lot of great stuff to say about what's happening in Oaxaca, and if you're interested about that, that's where we're going next. I just wanted to help answer people's questions. I'm getting a lot of questions from people about like what it's like in Mexico, and obviously being stuck where I am, like I have no idea what it's like in other parts of the country. So I thought it'd be helpful to just sort of share what especially the more popular places that people are interested in hopefully revisiting when they can start visiting again, what that's sort of looking like right now. And obviously Oaxaca's, a favorite for a lot of people. It's such a beautiful city, and the food's amazing, but I'm sure that it's not so active at the minute.
So it was just over 4 weeks ago that we had our first official cases here. And at that same time, that's when I started doing like the self-quarantine shelter in place thing. So I've been in the house for 4 weeks. And then since then, it's been kind of a progression of changes. I'm trying to remember the exact timeline. Things started shut maybe like 2 weeks ago. I can't remember when the government officially started making mandates, but the active than most of the rest of the country. And he stopped probably about 4 weeks ago. He stopped all large events and canceled activities. And then maybe a couple weeks after that, or possibly like a week ago, was when they made the decision that only essential businesses can stay open. So right now it's just markets. And
what's it like when you go out to like the markets and stuff? Is it like, are people wearing masks? Are there like markers on the floor for where you're supposed to stand and stuff?
I think I've been personally pretty impressed with how people are reacting and taking things seriously here. The local, a lot of vendors have closed. I think the vendors that feel like they can stay home, they can afford to, are staying home. So maybe it's kind of like at half capacity. And people are wearing face masks, not everyone, but a good number, maybe like a third to half that I know who aren't so careful normally about using like a plastic bag to collect money when they're touching food and money.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've noticed a couple more of those people are now doing that. So little things like that.
Yeah, it sounds like
some
people are taking
restaurants-
it like pretty seriously, which is
Mhm.
awesome. I mean, that's more than I've seen in most places here, unless it's being like mandated by the sort of like bigger companies or government and stuff. Did you notice any more people out during this past weekend, like with Easter and Semana Santa and stuff? Like, did it seem like people were still like traveling around, or is it hard to gauge?
Tourists for weeks. I can't even think of like one tourist I've seen for at least a couple weeks.
Wow.
So I don't feel like there are really any, or if they are, they maybe kind of got stuck here and are quarantining.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I've really seen Mexican tourists either. And yesterday I did a quick walk and walked by the tourist andador, the tourist street, and there was almost no one, which I've never seen before, let alone on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
So
next up, I'm speaking to my friend Cassie. Cassie lives in Merida. She's been there with her family now for a fair few years, and she is really up on what's happening there. This was one of the longer sections of the video because she just had so much information about what's happening in Merida, what's happening in the state of the Yucatan, and a little bit of information about what she thinks is going on in the rest of the country. So I hope you enjoy this segment.
The situation is normalizing, I think. I mean, you adapt, you habituate, and it's really sad to be habituating to this.
Yes,
we are.
But the Yucatan took it pretty seriously, like immediately.
Yes, that's true. And I keep reading all these articles about Mexico in the Mexican press, the US press, the UK press, and Mexico is being slammed around the world. We feel like, for the most part, it's being taken pretty seriously. And then you do hear different stories coming out of the hospitals, but I think it depends who you speak to, on what day. We still have the cases being described as pneumonia, but this is all rumor. Nobody really knows. So this is kind of what's happening across the country. There's a lot of pneumonia that shouldn't be happening right now, and that's probably the coronavirus.
Right.
But yeah, so we are not allowed in supermarkets without masks anymore. You'll actually and my husband was actually sent away. He had his mask, but the elastic snapped as he walked up to the door. And eventually the security guard stapled it for him so he could go back in. Like, we've got nice ones that have come from Mexico City that somebody's making in Mexico City and then they're being flown down here. So they're really good ones, but it just happened that the elastic snapped. But he was allowed in once it had been stapled together again. It's pretty strict. We have really yellow strict tape on the floor in OXXO, in the supermarkets. Like, you must be 2 meters apart. And everybody was taking it super seriously, except for one woman who was just wandering around aimlessly, and everyone else, there was like 3 other people in the store, and we were all just glaring at her because she was completely oblivious.
Oh no.
My area is really well behaved. We did take our kids out for a walk 4 nights ago. We had our masks on, we were walking in the middle of the road, we'd given them really strict instructions on what we had to do, and one of our neighbours was just like, "Where are you going?"
Oh, no. So people even like going for a walk is sort of like not being done.
Yeah, the parks are shut, so we can't go to the park anymore. We were able to go to the park.
And the beach is shut too, right? You can't even drive to Progreso.
We cannot. We basically can't leave. I mean, people from Progreso are coming in to go shopping, but I think you have, because we have the big supermarkets, and the ones in the north of Merida are kind of shared with the beach areas because they don't have the giant shops that we have. But I think you have to be able to prove residency to get back to the coast at the moment.
Wow.
I haven't tried to leave my area in 5 weeks. I really have no idea. So this is what I read. But there's been no police in the streets here where I live because it's quite a middle-class, well-behaved area with big houses. But I know in the north, in some of the more working-class areas, and in the city centre as well, you see a lot more. People are telling me there's a lot more police presence, and the army have been out. Telling people to stay in their houses. But of course, where the houses are smaller and more close together, and maybe people don't have any outdoor space. Of course, they're trying to behave a bit more normally. So they need to be told, or government feels they need to be told. Whereas, there's absolutely nothing here because we're all behaving.
Yeah.
That's our minds, but we have space.
Have you, I don't know how far you've been able to venture out and see if other things are open besides like grocery stores and stuff, or is it all totally closed?
It's totally closed. Anything that's not deemed an essential service is closed completely.
Right.
But we are discovering you can get anything you want as an online service.
Yeah.
Like, you could call the pool cleaning store, and they will give you whatever you need. So you can get art supplies, you can get everything. You just can't go to the store. It just has to be done a bit more sensibly, a bit more thoughtfully. And
right. And they're organizing like delivery on their end.
So
that's great.
Yeah, they are. I mean, everything. So one of my best friends has an organic cafe here, and she was one of the first people to really be like, right, this is it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to deliver. We will have this service. You can keep on getting my amazing bread. And now, like 3 or 4 weeks later, everyone else is catching up and doing it as well. So you can get pretty much everything. Like last night, we had German food delivered.
Awesome.
We're being quite strict about who we will get delivery from. I want to feel like I really trust the place to be taken seriously. But you can get pretty much anything and everything at the moment. But of course, it's a dry state now. Merida went dry on Sunday. The rest of the state was pretty much dry before.
No.
Yeah. Are you not dry?
No. Gosh, no. So like nothing at Oxo, nothing at like a Modelo. They're all shut.
They're not shut. I mean, I guess the Modelos probably are because they don't sell anything else. But no, you can't buy out. I mean, there are ways around it that maybe I shouldn't be talking about.
Wow. And was there any warning for that to happen?
So
like, did you know that this was going to happen before Sunday?
So the peninsula has been getting progressively drier. It started with the coast because, of course, it's Easter, and Yucatan coast went dry very early on. And then it was, this community's gone dry, this was going to go dry, and everybody kept saying, it won't happen here, and then they kept, there's more room. And then on Saturday, I think, we got official warning that as of Sunday, it would be dry. And then, of course, everybody flocked to the stores, and everybody was piling in together, forgetting completely that we were meant to be distancing, so they could have enough beer to get through.
Understandably.
So we didn't, because we'd been listening, so we had 5 bottles of tequila in our house already, and wine and beer to keep us going. Our governor is taking it really seriously. I'm really impressed with him. I didn't really know anything about him before because he's kind of irrelevant to, life just goes on. You don't need to know that much about who's ruling the state most of the time. But he comes across as really statesman-like, really in control, really calm. He gives great speeches about what's happening. He's appealed to all private schools. He's appealed to all landlords, to everybody to stop charging, because he's saying, like, people can't afford their rent, people can't afford their school fees. Let's take this into account. So it's been really great. So now there's sort of official letters that you can send your landlord and say, hey, clearly, do you remember the governor said maybe you could stop charging? There's support going on for.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. That's the most I've heard of any sort of government assistance going on in the country.
Like, obviously, I have no idea of the reality of it because I'm not applying for any of these things. I think it was an absolute disaster when they sent a website saying, come apply, tell us your needs. And I think too many people applied and it crashed. But it's amazing that it's there, and they're working out how to do it better now. There's some great charity work. There's some great groups of individuals really pulling together. Everyone's pulling together. Everyone's providing money. We're providing money for masks, for food, for outlying communities that have got nothing because they're stopping working. I think Yucatan is doing fantastically. I feel so safe here.
That's great. Now. That's really good.
Yeah.
Thanks. The next person I talked to was Alex in Queretaro. Queretaro was slow on the pickup. It seems like they're still slow on picking it up. But yeah, she gives us a little insight into what it's been like when she does leave the house. But because she lives in the downtown area, she's just been staying in. Let's see what she has to say.
But I woke up this morning and was like, oh my God, it's been a month of this.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
It's like evaporated.
Do you feel like you've let all predictions kind of like have you made any predictions like, oh, things will be I don't know, stuff will pick back up again, or I'll take my, oh, I saw your Instagram post yesterday that you moved a trip. So you think you'll be able to travel in, when did you move it to?
September.
Yeah.
It was just like a guess. Like, it was a total guess. Like we had no, we talked about it. We literally waited until the day of the flight to change it because we were just like, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. What do you like? It was just like, it felt very stressful.
But the flight was still in operation and
No,
everything?
but you had to like change the date before the like date of the flight.
Okay, but the flight was like still going. Like
they canceled it.
Okay, I was wondering just because
There's still some internal flights in Mexico.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I don't know.
I actually saw like an article the other day about like buses were like greatly, like the buses from like Queretaro specifically were like, they had like greatly reduced the number, like some routes like weren't even like running. Like, I mean, I'm sure I could get to like Mexico City or whatever if I wanted to like fly out, but yeah, we just decided to stay here.
Bunker down, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, like Taylor and I were talking about it just yesterday again, and one of the biggest things for me was like was health insurance.
Yeah.
Our plan says that like we're covered like for travel to the US, but like if something happens and like we have Mexican health insurance through GNP, and like I was just thinking, like when this all started to happen, like my mom was like, do you want to fly back and like you and Taylor can stay here? And I just thought like, you know, in the event that like we, you know, one of us did get sick there, that like I would hate to, I don't know, like I like our plan says, like I said, that we're covered in the US, but if we were to get sick and then have to pay out of pocket there, try to get reimbursed here,
and this has been
like,
so like
it's just as bad as getting sick.
Yeah, insurance has been so like up and down about whether this is going to be covered, like.
Exactly. So. I know like a lot of people who have like travel insurance, you know, like long-term travelers that were here in Mexico, like that their travel insurance said that like that they weren't going to cover it. What do you feel like about it being here in Mexico? Do you feel like it's here? I don't know.
I know, it's weird.
Really, because like I'm like not outside at all.
Yeah. I mean, I try to read the news not very often, like maybe once or twice a week, just to see like, is it growing at the pace that it's growing in the US or other parts of the world? Like, and it doesn't seem to be like increasing at the rate. So like, the cases could be so much higher than like what's being reported. And I'm sure that they are in most parts of the world, but like for it to still be so low here is, yeah, I don't know. What are you doing for food?
Everything's like been delivered. We haven't eaten out like at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like, I feel bad because I know everybody's like support small businesses and stuff, but I just like haven't personally felt comfortable with ordering food. I just like, I don't know how many people would be wearing face masks, or like, I don't even know. They don't even know if that would do anything. So, we haven't gotten like so sick of our own cooking yet that we've like, you know, that hasn't outweighed like our food.
And you can get your groceries delivered?
We got our groceries delivered. It's been about 1 month. Okay, so like about the week after I got back from the US, Taylor and I went to Walmart and we did like a huge like haul. Well, it felt huge to us because it was like we're so used to shopping at the market. Yeah. Like, I mean, we weren't like hoarding or anything like that, but you know, we bought like an economy pack of paper towels, of toilet paper, and it was we bought a ton of pasta and like canned stuff, frozen stuff, and just like really stocked up. And then we found a delivery service that does like fruits and vegetables. So awesome. We like place an order and they bring it like the next day. And then we've just been like using Rappi for like everything else, like alcohol.
Yeah.
We have like
no sign of a dry state yet. Oh, good.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. because we have like a corner store like near our house, and that's stayed open, and they actually like gave us their phone numbers and were
That's
like,
so nice.
if you need stuff delivered. So we like will run down to the corner store or something, but we try to like really limit those trips.
Yeah. The final video is one that I think a lot of people will be interested in, and this is with Stephanie in Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta is an awesome beach town. It's one that I love. It's one a lot of you love, I know, and it's one that's heavily visited throughout the year by international tourists. So Stephanie has a really good insight into what's been happening there, and what the city looks like for the tourists and what it looks like for the people who actually call Puerto Vallarta home. I'm sure for you guys, like living by the beach, like it must be weird to not be outside so much.
Yeah, all the beaches are closed, like by law. There's police patrolling and crazy.
So sad.
Yeah, constantly changing too. I feel like just now or just this morning, they released that they're extending the stay-at-home measures for the majority of communities until May 30th. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Here, I think we were slow to react at first, and then it got pretty serious pretty fast. Pretty much everything in like the tourist or like expat neighborhoods is shut down in terms of restaurants and bars. A lot of them have moved to pick up and delivery services. So the restaurants are still functioning, but doing delivery versus like allowing people. So at first what happened, I'm not sure if it's the same in Mexico City, but they had a rule that you had to be, I think it was 6 meters away from other patrons. So restaurants would like separate, move apart. Yeah, it was really.
So you could still sit in the restaurant, just not near anyone. That's
and at the bar. So that didn't really make sense to me. What is really hard and has been really interesting to think about is the fact that Puerto Vallarta is such a tourist destination. So the majority of people are making their money from tourism, and it's hard because it's so much more complicated than just being like, well, all restaurants and bars should absolutely shut down immediately. Because then it's like, well, how are these security guards and restaurant servers and stuff going to feed their families? Like those are real
street vendors, like all the guys that deliver stuff that now like nobody's really consuming.
Exactly. So it's complicated. And I think the community has stepped up. They created a food bank. So like separate from the government, it's just concerned citizens are gathering non-perishables to deliver to families in need. But yeah, like I was saying, the beaches have closed, and that's being enforced by police. A lot of the smaller popular tourist towns like Sayulita, their citizens have closed the city to outside people. So they put up like a roadblock like by the citizens who live there. And if you don't live in that community, they're not letting you in. Boca de Tomatlan is doing the same thing. And so a bunch of little smaller towns that were popular for a few weeks ago. And then on the border between Jalisco and Nayarit, specifically for Semana Santa, they put up a roadblock and were checking people crossing the state border.
So they were looking like going on vacation.
Exactly, because it's a really popular Semana Santa location. And then Home Depot put in a rule that if you're over 60, you can't enter the store. I don't know how they were enforcing that, but it was online and people were mad. Our other big superstores like Costco, they instituted first a 1 person per family limit, and then now it's 2 people per family go in at a time. Pretty much all the grocery stores are doing home delivery for free.
That's great. For free, that's awesome. Yeah.
La Comer, the people show up and they have all the groceries in boxes and they're wearing masks and gloves and they'll leave it outside your house.
Have you been able to go out and just sort of like walk around during the day?
Yeah. I live in a like residential neighborhood. I live in Fluvial. So it's not very like tightly packed,
right.
And I live in a house versus in an apartment building. So I have dogs, so I'm out like walking my dogs a couple times a day. I'm just trying to avoid people. I go for a run in the morning. There's a trail nearby my house, and just maintain appropriate distance from people. So I've been lucky in that way. I've talked
that's
to people
great.
who are in apartments, and they aren't really leaving as much because it's harder. You're coming into contact with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I work at a school. I'm a college guidance counselor at a local private school, and so we've been off of classes, and we plan to be like distance learning until May 6th, at least. So that's been interesting too. They're trying to keep education continuing, so they don't have to continue into the summer.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. And like talking to the students, especially the seniors, it's sad because they're missing
So sad.
senior year. And for our 10th graders, we're all supposed to go on a trip to Washington, D.C. together, and that's not happening now. And
Jeez.
so,
Do you feel like people around where you are taking it seriously, besides like the people who sort of have to, like the people who are working at La Comer and all these
Right.
other like restaurants and stuff? Do you feel like the people that are living there are taking it seriously?
I think from what I've seen, a lot of expats are taking it really seriously. But what I've noticed too, driving, because I have a car, so like I can, go do whatever. I'm not like exposing myself on the sidewalk. In the expat neighborhoods, and then the tourist neighborhoods, everything is shut. Like everything's closed. Right. Restaurants are closed except for delivery, and to go. But then in the local neighborhoods like Petial, everything is open. Bars and restaurants are open. People are sitting and drinking like it's normal. Huge groups of people packed in. All the food stands are open.
And there's no real like, the police
no
aren't like coming by and telling them to close.
No, exactly. So my perspective is that it kind of seems like the whole closure thing, like closing down bars and restaurants, is more of a show.
Right.
To show like the foreigners, and because again Puerto Vallarta is like such a tourist town, like that's where all of the money comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the beaches, to close those down, and it looks nice in newspapers, but then where people actually live and eat and go about their lives, that's still functioning as normal.
I'd hasten to say that I hope you enjoyed this video. I know this information is heavy. Doing these phone calls was both uplifting because I'm speaking to people that I love speaking to. I'm chatting with friends. I'm hearing about this country that I love. But it's also disheartening, and I'm feeling like a little emotional right now. But like, I didn't think I was gonna get like emotional. It's hard to hear about places that you love not being right. So yeah, I hope this video gave you some insight into what's been happening here. I hope it helps you make some decisions for those of you that are trying to figure out what to do for later in the year. As you've heard in some of the clips, personally I've rescheduled trips that I was supposed to take this month for the end of August, start of September. I don't know what things will look like internally here in Mexico at that point, but if we're on the trajectory that the Secretary of Health has been talking about, we should technically be all ready to resume some sense of normalcy by July. Please stay safe, please stay inside. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. If you live in another part of Mexico and you want to share what it's been like there, I struggle to find people in Guadalajara and Monterrey that wanted to chat. But if you live in those cities, I'd really love to know what it's like there and what you're experiencing. But yeah, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.